Hey folks, a little bit delayed this week. It's been Easter and I thought I'd prepped my lesson, but I hadn't. This is this week's lesson, which is a cherry chopped in half. So I think it's week 15. It's getting a little bit more challenging because we're looking at finer detail, seeing if we can get that juicy, reflective surface, and just seeing if we can make our fruit look edible and make us hungry and really want that for our lesson. So grab your pencils, folks, and let's get started. Let's start with our basic outline. Now, the easiest part would be to start with the stem and just thinking about, is it straight? Does it have a bend? And where does it bend? After that, you want to add the fruit of the cherry itself. So you can either start in the pip or you can start at the outer shell. Now, there's a little bit of the skin that you can see just around the stem, and then it falls into kind of a squashed circle. So it looks a bit like an apple, actually. But once you've got that, you're then going to add the pip, or, if you did the pip first, you're going to add the skin around there. And hopefully that should be our outline basically done. So it is worth just tidying it up and making sure you're happy with the shape, with the left side being the similar sort of thickness as the right side, and you're happy with the placement of the pip. So once you're happy with that, grab your 2B pencil. I seem to be using a HB. I think I lost my 2B at the time. And I just want you to shade in the flesh. So you'll notice that I'm going quite rough. You can see my lines. I'm trying to keep my pencil lines as close together as possible, but the main purpose of this is just to get rid of the white, get the lightest shade from that section, and just to cover it in a nice bit of pencil as we move along. So just shade in the fleshy bit in your 2B, or please ignore the HB. And then we're going to add some detail after that. But first we want to set our tones. Now, what I wanted to do in the next part was just mark out where the strongest parts of detail are in the pip, or is my grammar right there? Is in the pip. The strongest bits of detail in the pip. I think that's better. So you'll see I'm just trying to figure out where those darkest bits are, and also I just want to highlight where the lightest bits are. So this is probably the most important part, is figuring out your highlights. So don't stress too much about like the medium bits of detail, but really do draw a little gate around the white bits, because we know we don't want to shade around those at all. We don't want to shade in those at all, sorry. So you might have guessed we're going to shade around those little white bits and fill it in with your 2B once again. So there's not much that we can see in our drawing at the minute. So what we want to start doing is pulling out the darker sections. We're showing a difference from one level of surface to another. So I'm going around the pip where it is in the picture, and I'm trying to start to push those darker shadows in. What you'll also see is there's a bit of a dark edge around the flesh itself, so where the skin is basically. So once I'm happy with the shadowing around the pip, I'm just going to start to outline the edge as well. And it's all kind of working at the same time as each other. So you're bringing everything together, jumping around a little bit, but we're still aiming for that darkness, and we're trying to pull that in so that the light bits start to get highlighted. So make sure it's definitely darker in the center, it's a little bit darker on the outside, and you just want to make sure you're pulling these gradients that are pulling towards the outside. So just keep looking at the picture, keep seeing where there's a difference in shade, and you can see that there's like a lighter ring central in the flesh, so in the fruity bit. So don't worry about the finer detail just yet. We're just trying to mark all the important pieces. And then we can start working back on the pip. So there's a lot of dark lines on the pip, and we want to make sure that we're looking at the shapes of this. Now, sometimes I kind of stop and I move around and I'm like, oh, hold on, there's a dark bit there, and oh, there's a wiggle there. So if you're like, hold on, Charlie, you're saying one thing and jumping around another, then my apologies. But our brains work in mysterious, wonderful ways. But if I can tell you what we're aiming for, hopefully that'll help with your own as well. So once you've set most of your shading, then you can add the details. So you'll see that I'm starting to add these little wiggly bits in the fruit, and I'm pushing that down with my 7B. So I'm keeping it nice and dark. If you've got an 8B, perfect. I think I lost my 8B as well. Can I just say, I made this video just before I went on holidays, so yeah, my room was a mess. Anyway, work your way around every little like vein that you see. Think about what direction it's going in. Think about those videos we've done before where we're looking at the direction of lines. Is it pointing towards 12 o'clock? Is it 1:30? Is it 5:45? These little differences in line will really help with your drawing and bringing everything together. So it's a process. It's a process of building everything up, being patient, and realizing that it actually won't look very good until the last 10% of it. So, go easy on yourself, because it never looks good to start with. Mine certainly don't. So just keep working around it and pushing those darker bits darker. Now, there are going to be differences in shade. There's going to be light, medium, dark, and all things in between. So if you've got dark on the page, is there anywhere that's a little bit darker? Is it anywhere, where it's medium or just slightly darker than its neighbor? These are the subtle differences that are really going to help your drawing. And you'll see that I'm pushing in these super, super dark flecks, which are starting to add that texture and the dynamicness in our piece. So there's a lot of contrast that's being built up here. And our pip looks very unrealistic. So once you're kind of happy with the fruity bit, start to think about the pip itself. And I wish I'd have had a second camera on this so you could see exactly what's going on. But as I said, it was not the time for second cameras. But treat the pip as, I don't know, as like skin or a wrinkle, like lots of wrinkly bits. I know it could look like other things. Just remember it is a pip, and there's going to be lots of contrast in there. So keep looking at it and thinking, okay, where is it darker? Where is it lighter? And remember, it is a ball. It's a sphere of some kind, maybe like a rugby ball. So your light tones aren't going to be kept light. They're actually going to be, a gradient that helps the shape to curve around. So just pay attention to where there are pockets in the pip and the flesh as well, and just keep balancing with each other. Now, don't forget to work on the stem as well. There's one light source coming from the left, so the right edge of the stem is actually much darker. It's causing a form shadow, which means it's formed on the shape rather than being cast on the floor or the object. So make sure you're getting a light side and a dark side. And there's not too much detail that needs to happen in this. Just a little bit on the top, a few squiggles, which I think will do. And then there's a little bit of shading on the skin, which you can see just at the base of the stem there. So now is the time to kind of refine your drawing and think, is there any small bits of detail I can add? Can you see any veins, any thin lines? Can you add any that will make the texture seem a little bit more, I don't know, like juicy or whatever? But again, I wish I had that second camera, because you cannot see the nice texture going on. It's very reflective. But hopefully, the right hand side, the bottom right especially, you can see where that's getting nice and textured. So once you're happy with all these things, go around your drawing with a 2H pencil. This is going to bring all those grainy bits together. You can add more finer detail with your 2H pencil because it's not going to go any darker. So do spend a few minutes now just refining the rest of your drawing and making it look so bloody good that you could literally eat it. Does it make you salivate? That's what I want you to ask yourself. Does it make you hungry? Okay, folks, thanks so much for watching this week. Sorry it's a little bit late. And yeah, I'll catch you next week for another lesson of fruit.